So many things to touch.
So,
We're in.
we're in.
Are we calling? No, this isn't season 3. By the way, cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Hang on. Let's go to camera 4. Boop.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. It's been a time of new beginnings, Bill.
It has. This isn't season 3. This is continuing of season 2. But we had a break. It was Christmas. We had babies. We had obligations. But the big one.
Boom. Is I've left Make.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that tastes so good.
So this is our party. This is our party re-entry episode. So yeah, Ben up sticks and decided to move on, which was a bit of a surprise. How do you feel?
Well, yeah, yeah, it is a surprise, really. I just felt it was too good an opportunity to pass up. I really did. It was all the things I'd always loved the idea of doing, and it was like literally placed in front of me, and I was like, I can't. My wife said it's like a massive neon sign saying fate, like do it, like so. Yeah, but I was really sad to leave though. I had an amazing leaving party and everyone was incredibly emotional and nice to me. I think I was more emotional than most people.
Yeah, and they had a speech for you ready that you didn't go and listen to. I've heard as well.
I felt really bad about that. So what happened was on my last day, I met our client and we went out, they took me out for lunch and I get on really, really well with him. And then the other, I guess his boss came out as well. So it's just me, my boss at Make, and the 2 bosses at Brookfield, and they took me out for lunch. And it was
Did you say all the things you couldn't say if you were going to continue in employment?
Well, they were really nice to me, considering I was one of the key members of this big project, and I left, and he got me, like he does maybe once every year, got me incredibly drunk.
Yeah,
and then that was the point. He slipped out. My boss was like, I shouldn't have another drink, and then he went, oh, what are you worrying about? You've only got to go back and do a speech. And then Stuart looked at me. And I was like, you're doing a speech? And he's like, no, damn it. So, but just through sheer coincidence, I wasn't back for that speech. But yeah, everyone was, I just couldn't work out. Everyone was texting me, like, where are you?
Where are you? Why? They probably wanted to give you like a bar, some flowers and whiskey. And
I'll be honest, it was not exactly how I wanted it to end, but
that's all right.
You can't time these things, can you?
No, and how does it feel? Because you always think you're irreplaceable. Not that you might think that, it sounds it, but you can't imagine life like any differently. And then you say you're leaving, and people are a bit nonplussed. Not that it was about that, you especially, but I remember an old boss of mine who was leaving, and he had all these conversations with me about how we should break it to the team and how people might react, and literally no one gave a toss. And we're like, can we go for lunch now? And he said he found it very grounding. It's like, actually, I'm not that important in people's lives. Did you feel that, or did you think people were a bit surprised when you spoke to them?
People were very, very, they were a little bit like, half my team, I guess, were kind of like, oh no, that's really bad. And the other half were like, oh, okay, fair enough.
Bit of an opportunity.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe not.
But
like,
that's... Oh, a bit of headroom after all.
But what happened is I had a month. So I did my full month and I was adamant I wanted to finish absolutely everything that I could. Yeah. And I was kind of dragged pillar to post to try and do everything. And I didn't really get a chance to talk to a lot of the team, I realised in hindsight. And then I thought, I've got loads of time. And then the last week just like flew by. But it is very weird not being there once you've been there. Because I've been there for 10 years this year.
Yeah. It's like leaving any institution like school, your best friend. Are you like, oh, it turns out I'll never see him again. We were drawn together totally by circumstance. And actually all these people you just, you work with, but you're not dead,
no.
And you are still around. And I think that's kind of nice for people so they can still see you for drinks occasionally. Yeah.
And I'd also like to say that I have an enormous extra appreciation for Make since leaving, just in a kind of, they do things incredibly well, and it's only when there's these invisible systems that you don't even know exist, and I knew I'd feel like that, but you don't know what you don't know, and then it's only when you go to new practice, and this new practice we're having to build everything. They've done a lot of work.
Oh, well, what we did here, and I mean, and without like constantly naming all of the different practices, a lot of the people that work at Make came from particular practices. And they still say, oh, well, what we did there. And so there is this rolling learning experience that people carry forward, and the best bits they take, and the bits that didn't work, they try and reinvent and then realize why it didn't work in the first place. And it's a good. I don't know. It's a credit, isn't it, to make that some of the best things you would take and replicate. And you've got the opportunity. Are you going to talk about what you're doing, or
Yeah.
it
No,
secret?
no,
Is it
no. I know.
secret?
I really, really want
You're
to.
allowed to?
Yeah. I'm allowed to. So they positively engage in this process. That was what. So it's. I mean, it's.
Oh, here we go.
Here we go. The bloody party line. But I think like it's very hard to look for a job whilst you're at a job, and I wasn't. I literally just. One of my friends is really close friends is a recruitment agent, but I don't trust recruitment agents. It's I don't know if you've ever used a recruitment agent. I feel like they're just gonna palm you off on their first possible jobs. I don't trust them. And she was really nice. So it's actually the people at Heta that I went for an interview and I really liked, and I actually didn't mind necessarily what work we're doing as long as I would get on well with the people. So that was literally the driving force behind it, because that's one of the things I loved at Make was the people. I think they're the best, nicest people.
But maybe the focus of this conversation could be a bit about recruitment and change and changing, because it's a huge topic, quite difficult to approach. I mean,
let's do that, yeah.
Painful as it sounds, at business school, one of the things we're doing, loads of people are coming to change, not change careers, but maybe supersize their careers or move up. And they are recruiting, or they are changing sectors, or they're changing roles, and there is a lot of change, and there's a lot of coaching about how to approach that. And one of the things that was sort of so obvious that I never realized is that headhunters or recruiters, they work for the people who need staff, not you. And they're not careers advisors. So they're not going to say, oh, you're a graphic designer. Well, maybe you could try this kind of management role in a printing company. That is not their job. They are looking for people who have got the exact skill set to match their client. And that's kind of obvious, but worth saying, I think, that you might have, she's your friend, this woman, and you could have a very free and open conversation. But the moment you talk to them, that interview process is starting. They're trying to ascertain what your big drivers are, and they're working for someone else. So don't go to them to kind of wonder what's out there. Once you go there, you're in.
I would say,
is that fair?
100% fair. And I didn't. It's very, when you write your CV, it's the most horrible, cringe-inducing thing when you write, because you read
talking about myself,
but in a way that is going to get you a job. You read other people's CVs, you're like, wow, they've done so much. And they say, yeah, I was technical lead at stakeholders meetings. You're like, wow, I ran a design team meeting. Yeah. God. And it's all that kind of generic stuff. And I'm like, oh, no, I've done that. I didn't realize. Yeah, that was the thing. But the nice thing is, do you think I should name drop who it was from the company? No, okay. No, don't name drop the business. Anyway, I literally said to her what I did on a day-to-day basis, the things that I love doing, the strengths of like running this podcast and doing everything, the things that I really wanted to do. And I just brain dumped on her and then said, what would you do with
Fix
that?
it.
Yeah. What would you do with that skill set? And she was like, oh, well, it sounds like you want to work for a startup, like a small company, and build something from scratch. And I was like, oh, in my head, I should go to another, maybe have a different role at a big, maybe that would, I didn't know what I wanted to do.
And she's a friend. But what's helpful for that is a career coach, and that sounds a very grandiose thing. But actually, you don't have to have a successful career to have a career coach. Yeah. I should know. No, but you kind of they can help reflect what the messages you're giving off are, and question why you want certain things. I mean, that whole thing of strategy is choosing one route at the expense of another. You can't do everything. So I am going to do this and I am not going to do this. And being honest with yourself about that, like that's a lot of career coaching. And she sounds like she's done that for you. Because I would have said you'd have done well in a very big organization as well. Yeah. And it's actually a really great topic. I'm really glad we spoke about this, because even if you do.
Even if I do. But you said it to me. You were like, don't think of like you've got a long career ahead of you. You've only got a finite amount of years left. Like, what is the most beneficial use of those years you've got? And I know that makes it sound like we're 50 or something, but really in terms of like new career changing energy, that's like, 40 to mid 40s, whatever. That's the time when you change stuff. So really, when I had it in my head, well, currently on these big projects I was working on, that might be 2 more big projects. That was it,
Yeah.
2. And I was just like, I've only worked on 2, you know, and I was like, that. Once you'd framed it like that in my head, I was like, it was the length of
Don't
time.
blame it on me.
No, it's
the
all your fault.
listeners out there, I gave Ben very credible,
it's
open,
all your
neutral
fault.
advice. He interpreted it in his own way. I know what you mean, and that doesn't quite ring true. As you know, the more senior you are, the more projects that come across your desk, and or projects that others are doing, and you're kind of contributing to. But I think that is worth saying. That I mean, I'm 39, and
Good God. Wow.
that took a lot to say that out loud. But
Is that it?
But I was thinking, wow, yeah, like 40 to 50 is a big, you know, what are you going to do? And we're coming to the end of a fantastic building called 80 Charlotte Street. And that's taken 10 years. And I honestly think it's fantastic. I'm so proud of it. But it's taken more than 10 years. And I'm sure the next one won't take 10 years. But you're right. Like, what's a good use of 10 years? Some people do nothing in 10 years. And, you know, in that time, we've built other projects. But architecture is a slow burn.
Yeah. And yeah, so I don't know. I just felt that question framed. And also, I don't know how a career coach would say, but if I've never looked for another job, how would I even know that this is the best one? You know, actually only leaving Make, I'm able to look back and say, oh, they did so many amazing things.
Yeah,
but you can only know that once you've gone.
Yeah, but it's that horrible concept of opportunity cost. What is the price of me doing this? The cost is all of the other things that I would not be doing. And it's not a very helpful observation because it's the grass is greener. So is this going to be better than everything? Well, no, of course it's not. It's like a relationship or a house or anything where you're like, well, you're always bound to kind of perceive other experiences as being more exciting or rewarding. But actually it isn't really like that because the depth comes from the time and complexity and personal investment and all of those kind of things. But so did you steel yourself? You wrote a CV?
No, I know. I literally didn't write a CV. I was like, I'm not going to send you a CV. And she had to really fight for me to have this meeting. I didn't know this until I was in the interview.
Like an agent.
Yeah. She was really good. Like, it was the week before Christmas. They said, we'll meet you at 9. I was like, well, can it be 8? Because I was getting in at 8 and Make. And I was like, well, I'd rather it early. And then she was like, text back maybe 6 hours later going, yeah, okay, that's fine. I now, having worked there, realise how unbelievably unsociable that time is in that office because they all get in at 9. Security
It's
get at 9.
also a massive power play.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah? Oh, what, 9? Yeah, amazing you get anything done.
And they were really, really nice. And they came in, and I didn't realise this. And they were like, look, the only reason we're meeting you is because she fought for you to come meet you. So, like, straight away, it was just a nice, relaxed atmosphere. My 40-minute interview ended up being 2 hours. And they were just such nice people.
How long?
2 hours, an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Wow.
In the end. Well, because this is what's funny.
Should have recorded it.
Yeah, well, you joke. I had like the list of projects that I'd worked on, all 3 of them. And we chatted about that for a bit. They grilled me, like, you know, on any big project, you're like, what did you actually do though? Like, what did you, I know we're like project lead or whatever, but then I said, they grilled me and they're like, okay, fine, you know all that. But what else do you do?
How did they grill you then?
They were like, well, what consultants did you work with? Like, who are the structural engineers? How did you work with them? How did you get through planning? Like, what are all the stakeholders? Who are the stakeholders? They just literally attacked it from every angle in a nice way. And then as I started talking...
You did check you'd actually done it.
Yeah. And then as they realised I just wouldn't stop talking about it, they were like, all right, fine. We believe you. But they have this like, this really cool attitude, and this is part of the new branding thing we're doing, which is like architecture... on corporate note.
There we go.
No, but they're architecture plus one. Like, what is your specialism? Everyone there has a specialism.
What is your job title and specialism?
At the moment, I'm just associate. And my job title currently is a bit of everything. They were like, we want you to do like 5 things at the same time. We'll work out what your job role is when you join. Okay. That was their pitch to me. They just said, just come and join. Yeah. But the second half of my interview was all about the podcast. It was all like, it was the Create More one previously to this, and then this one, and I showed them the studio, and I showed them how we branded everything, built the website, showed them all the website, and they were like, yeah. And then the director came in, they're like, oh, come on in, show us all this. And they kind of, why did I do Create More? Why did we do Architecture Den? Like, who did we talk to? What's the point in? And I said, oh, it's the intersection of all these different industries, and I don't understand why architects look inward. The industry is so much wider than just buildings. Architecture is about loads of stuff, and I wanted to know more. And they were like, yeah. And then they offered me a job like 3 or 4 hours later. And I was like, yeah, I'll take it. And then, I rang the CEO like 4 days later and I was like, can I just check that what we both agreed in the interview was like, I just said yes, and I'd realised that.
Because you got such a sort of so excited. You're like, great, I'll just throw myself out of the first floor window. And I would do that exact same thing. What did I buy?
But
on that, just before we move on, that is one of those ideas that I think I've mentioned it before on here, I'm sure, but your side project can become your key differentiator.
You have,
So you know, the podcast, which was a marginal thing, it's actually what they wanted you for. But you couldn't have done it if you weren't a brilliant architect and you hadn't got all of that experience. But it is worth finding a few hours on a Tuesday and, you know, doing that extra stuff.
Because, I mean, we always joked, it'll be the thing that gets us the next thing. And it was like, it was that.
So you rang them back and said...
And they were like,
imagine that they were watering salary.
They were, they read, this would be your day. Like, this might be the 5 different things that you do, and it was like business development, practice management, marketing. And I was like,
is there any design in there?
Yeah, like running projects. But the thing is,
you still do projects
at the moment. My primary focus is on the branding of the company and kind of refining and working with all of this stuff because they've been going
like visual branding or the whole messaging and
so they've been,
because it's quite unusual. I mean, I don't know how. We don't want to necessarily like. Yeah. You talk about as much as you want, but the leader isn't an architect. He's got different skills, and that's quite unusual. I think that's worth commenting, isn't it? It does leave space for people to be design leads or do other things.
Yeah, I mean that's so. I guess it's the actual story of it, I still haven't, it's still a thing that's developing. So I'll kind of talk about that more, I guess, in a couple of weeks or something. But the actual, at the moment, they have these amazing projects, primarily in Korea at the moment, but they're doing a car museum, they're doing an amazing hotel, they're doing these incredibly large scale projects because we're partnered with a Korean developer. So they have this kind of, we have to pitch for projects, but we work alongside other architects, but then if we win the project, we get that project and we design it and we work with the Korean architect. So you have this big pipeline of projects. Now, at the moment, that everyone has a role and I've just ballooned in. So the challenge is making sure that I don't, I want everyone to get on and that I'm all about the culture and the people. That's primarily one of the other things I said in my interview is like, the thing I enjoyed most about the project I was on, Leadenhall, was half the design, but half actually working with all the people, making sure they had everything. So it's like not a manager's role, but more of a friend first. I know, but like, you know what I mean?
You know what's interesting for me? It's great.
Does that sound really ridiculous? No.
No, not at all. What I think it sounds like that might have wider appeal is people who are moving from more established companies into more fluid startup work environments and what that transition feels like. And I still think, my current employer has that startup feel a little, but it's 16 years old now and that has certain sort of benefits and compromises, of course. But generally, people are happier working for smaller organizations. That's sort of the way the trends are going. And that's going to a sort of, an extreme end where everyone wants to work for a startup because they feel the opportunities of reward are big. It's a bit of a gamble. It's quite casual, informal, and also in very nebulous environments, there's an opportunity to get a kind of a great job. And I wonder if going from doing quite traditional, well, not traditional projects, but very established city projects in a established work environment, suddenly you're in a startup. I mean, do you all wear, do you have stickers on your laptop and do you know what I mean? And like smoothies.
Again, this is going to sound
pale ale.
This is going to sound really awesome. Cheesy. If I had to start my own architecture practice, this is exactly how it would start. All of the software, the tech, the IT, I love it. It's all like, so the general premise is what's architecture going to be like in the next 10 years? That's the whole reason this practice has been set up. It's like not what is architecture practices now, but in studios, what will an architecture studio look like in 10 years' time? Primarily, in U of I discussed this, we're going to be tech companies. Realistically, the speed at which things will change during a tech company it is part of this kind of 10-year challenge. And inside of that, it's like the primary services that architects do is going to continually shrink unless we start grabbing more and more other consultants and people to work with. And that's essentially...
Or becoming those consultants.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Het are doing, which is like, don't work with those consultants, work with the best ones and then bring them in. So there's an amazing woman called Catherine who hopefully we can get on at some point. She's a wellness specialist, but she's fully adopted it and has done lots of talks. It's like, well, let's not pay lip service to it. Let's actually bring her in. So she's come in as a new employee. There's an amazing woman called Yvonne who's like...
So staying on Catherine, what is the work? How does wellness like manifest itself in your startup?
Yeah, so this is the challenge. So we don't have the answer right now.
Fruit and bowls.
Fruit and bowls.
Pictures of plants. No, I'm being a cynic.
Yeah,
but we went to, there's the Porter building in Slough, which has been finished, and it's one of the first to be well accredited to a certain thing. And I don't want to go down a big well, fall down a well.
Whose phone was that? Was that my phone? That was so perfectly timed.
But to get this well certification, you have to have complete buy-in from the user, from the occupier, and they have to use every type of paint and plant that you say, and that's not quite unusual. But a lot of the well stuff was about how, they'd run out of money for plants, so they'd put plant wallpaper, but that still kind of counted, and they had like a bowl of fruit on a plinth, and it was this office that wasn't yet fitted out, and it did feel a bit... it felt a bit ridiculous, actually, when there were so many good things about BREEAM and the environment and energy, that wellness felt a very much more of a fit-out thing than an architecture thing. And I wondered what she'd done, what actually that meant for you.
So for us, that's the challenge. So
it's nothing.
We are working on a framework of how you can analyze a building through every concept stage, and she's done that for fit out and interiors later on. But we're bringing her in specifically to work out how can we do that at concept stage. How can you drive that through from the very beginning?
But has she done your office?
No, she hasn't even started yet. She's been working remotely and now she's kind of enjoying it. So I am part of a big drive, which is kind of the next, so phase 2. Phase 1 is building something out of nothing. I mean, the guys that have been there since day 1 in July, I've got so much respect for, because the things evolved organically around them. And the thing that they joined to start with is 100% different to what it is now. Like, well, like
that thought, just to dwell on that, that is the excitement and challenge of working in a startup, I would imagine, in that nothing is stable. So just as you find you like the amount of people that work there, you like the culture, you're building an exciting product, just as you've got used to it, someone's taken it in another direction, and you need, I would imagine, to kind of let go of that brief happy moment you had and adapt to the new norm. I mean, that's not right for everybody, is it? I mean,
I guess there's like a social investment. Like I was trying to explain to someone, it feels like partly it could feel like you've had social like shares in a company, but like emotional shares. So when you started, you had 5, but there's only 50 shares available. Suddenly, your emotional capital that you've put in when there's 20 people means that it feels like it's ever shrinking.
Well, either there or your shares have gone up in value, and actually you got in at the ground floor. I think it must be difficult to, that phrase like what got you here won't get you there, or who got you here won't get you there as well.
Yeah.
The people you want in a 2, 3, 4 person startup is very different than you want in a 40 plus, I imagine. And that must be difficult, realizing you're not relevant to the next stage of growth.
Yeah. Well, and also the other challenge is systems, like we were talking earlier, like, when there's only 5 people, one person can kind of manage that. Oh, you do it as a side thing. Oh, you're an architect and also you do whatever it is, other systems in there. You balloon that up to 25 people. Suddenly everyone that joins needs a new laptop, it needs new software, their mobile phones need like activating. Like, actually, when is the tipping point to employ a specialist? Okay, we need a full-time IT guy, a full-time print guy. There's a big overlap of like, do I work late to do all the IT stuff, the print stuff? It's like, that's the challenge, is like everyone's role constantly kind of changes in the background, and you're not immediately aware that that's happening. It's just...
It's interesting, and it's quite difficult that you might get used to doing a bit of... I think that thing of leaders get it a lot, is it worth me doing this? Shouldn't someone else be doing this now? But actually, I've run a kind of small business, and your job is to go and fix the server and like unplug computers and call the landlord and do all of that kind of stuff.
Well, I stand up and go, "Oh, my computer isn't working. Who's going to fix it?" And they're like, "You." I mean, you do that. I'm like, "Oh, what do you mean? We don't have a system in place to do it.
Exactly.
Printer's not working." Well, email the IT guy and they'll come tomorrow and they'll fix the printer.
But then there's another thing. There's another idea that pay someone to do the bits that you can't do, so that you can focus on the bits you like to do. And in some, you could do your own accounting. It's not. You're right. You might not get all the tax advantages.
Hang on. You've just done an accounting course, and now you think it's all bloody easy.
No, I don't. But no, I wouldn't say that. Having done it, I would say get an accountant to do it. But you find a lot of architects like, no, that's not fair. One of the challenges of a startup is you want to do your own accounts because an accountant's quite expensive. But actually, that's money well spent because it takes you ages. It wouldn't take them very long, and you can go and develop the product or go and win work or pick people or do the bits that you think you're good at. Growing is tough. So how many people are there now at Heta?
So they're now up to, I think, 23 people.
23?
But when I joined, they were 18 or 19 or something. So when I signed up, so when I accepted, like 3 weeks before Christmas, 4 weeks before Christmas. 2 weeks before Christmas. But that's because that's
astronomical. But to be fair, what's interesting if people are out listening to this and they're setting up an architecture firm or they're a small thing, like that is the reality. We've spoken before about what's your unfair advantage. Well, in this case, we are being financed by a particular income stream, so you're not competing in the same way as a sort of neutral professional. I mean, I'm not saying that's good or bad, but that's the reality now. So it's your growth isn't reflective of your revenue.
Yeah, I mean,
is that right?
Yeah, definitely. So no, that's the thing. We do have projects coming in, and we do have
but the growth rate, the rate of growth, it doesn't reflect the rate of growth of revenue. It's about a strategic ambition to be
it's about
a certain size, and then you can be resilient enough to do a bigger type of project, I'd imagine.
The goal has always been to get projects in the best environment, which is at the moment London's, and the goal is to then have more work outside of it. The actual kind of, and I hope that people listening to it, I mean, to me it's a completely unique situation. It doesn't happen very often that there's a startup, but basically a design studio that also has aspirations to try and go into lots of different sectors. Collaborations is exactly the thing. So this is what's so interesting. There's just a constant stream of interesting people coming in and out the office. So I've tried to move my seat right next to the meeting room because you see everyone that comes in, and we work with all these amazing specialists, and they do pitches, and they we're like, oh, how can we work with you? How can you work with us? It's fascinating.
Well, and it's opportunistic. That sounds really good. You should make sure
I want to do a kind of rolling update on this because I do think it's really exciting. Because
as an outsider, it's amazing to sort of feel like we're hearing about something on the ground floor, and there'll be ups and downs. Ride it out.
Yeah,
I want to come with you.
Yeah, well, I want to celebrate it. So my pitch,
not actually, but
my pitch,
emotionally,
my pitch to them as well is like a lot of it is this is all new to me. So business development, marketing, going out and winning work. At the moment, I said this to you, we're a client experience company. You come to us. I've coined all these phrases. I'm sure the people that have been there for ages hate this. And the point is, you come to us as a client because we're trying to operate beyond where everyone is now. Like, what will technology and what will wellness and what will data-driven analytics? What does that all actually mean? It's so easy to say. Bring a data specialist into our company, make them work with us day to day. And how does that define a concept? Like, if you win a project, how does wellness actually get integrated? How do you actually do social engagement? How do you actually do data-driven analytics? Bring all those people in.
And yeah, I totally agree. But there's a mystery. Data is the new oil, and data analytics are everything.
You hear that so often, don't
you? But the reality is, well, my view is, having done some very rudimentary data analytics, is you need lovely, clean data. It needs to be very accountable. You need to be asking the right questions. You need to be making some pretty, some common sense reasoning about lots of it. It's not a kind of magic, quantitative solution to all of our ills. It feels to me like quite a successful model that you'd have a data scientist with as social scientists another skill set. And I think our whole industry is very jumpy about preparing for the next stage. We were caught a bit offside by BIM, and all these new consultants appeared that kind of stole some of our scope, and we're now kind of apprehensive about, oh no, all these data scientists going to take it. And I don't think that's the right way to look at it. It's like, actually, we are data scientists, and it's looking at footfalls and political maps, and that's all very relevant data that you're just used to using in a different way.
And I think my experiences of kind of commercial projects, and that kind of before a retailer or a fit out comes in. So to me, wellness and data analytics, I don't necessarily know how they fit in, but for a retail fit out, I can totally see how data analytics and how people use social media and interact with that shop. I mean, that's a game changer. Things like a person came in and explained to us how Heathrow Terminal was designed. There's no main entrance, and they use data analytics to literally say where they should build more shops, where do more people, where's more dwell time. I get it on a site that big, how you'd use it.
Yeah.
How do we apply that to our projects from the off? And a big thing for me is trying to work with everyone there at the moment and create a culture and a design strategy. So,
and what are they like? Are they nice?
Well,
do you go out to the pub and?
Well, do you know what? They're all so. I mean, I'm going to say, they're also talented as well. They're all so good at like smashing out renders and doing like this amazing design work. So they are. It's almost embarrassing that I actually can't keep up with them on that level whatsoever. And they do, as I said, everyone has a specialism, right? So the idea is that...
Apart from you, it would seem. I keep trying to nail down what your...
My specialism is my personality.
Character.
The charm. They're like, can't quantify that. Then. So...
Stick that in your data. I don't know.
So everyone has these like cool side things. So we're doing this whole... Anyway, I'll save that for another website.
Yeah, save it for another thing. But what are they like? Do you go to the pub?
They're really nice. They're all really nice.
Do you feel old?
I like really old. And also they're like, how old are you? And I'm like 37. And they're like, what? I thought you said your kids. Yeah, I've got 2 kids. They're like, you look about 25. And then they see my hair and they think, maybe, fair enough, 37. Actually, I can see that. 37.
Actually, on a hangover. Yeah, I see it. I can squint and... Oh, it sounds good. I will invite me round. I want to come over a look.
It's a watch this space, isn't it? So what's this? So what's this podcast been about? This has been about recruitment, new beginnings. What should we call it?
Recruitment. I think it's quite difficult to steel yourself and like leave a place of work and go to another place of work, especially if you're broadly happy. I think a lot of people might feel that kind of warm bath analogy. It's not bad. So there's no motivation to leave, and then you have to steel yourself, and what are the processes that you go through? Is that quick? Is that fast? Is that kind of anxiety inducing? And then I think that recruitment and preparing for the next stage and finding something that's the right fit. I mean, we're of a certain age. It's probably different. We've spoken a bit about getting jobs to university leavers, and that's a kind of different, scary in a different way. But honestly, I think it's not unscary coming to the middle of your career and thinking, it's been 10 years since I had an interview. That's scary in another way. Or have I closed doors with certain choices that I've made? I don't even know what jobs are out there. I think this is an ongoing conversation because I want to track your emotional development through this in a good way, because you're bound to feel that some weeks you're very close to the guys that set it up and this is your future, and other days, something's happened and you've doubled in size and suddenly there isn't a place for a shock jock in the corner pressing the flesh.
One thing that I tell you what, we'll end on this, but like one thing I realized is, and this is just a compliment to me really, but the how much they supported me in terms of like the team that I had around me, just how good they were and how much I just talked and how much they supported me. Like that's become immediately apparent when I joined this new place, is like, I'm on my own now. Oh God! Like, how do I do anything?
It does lay you quite bare as to your skill set.
Yeah. And then I felt like if I'd have carried on longer there, that would have just amplified. And I felt I needed to like start from scratch again. That's exactly how I felt. I feel like I'm learning everything from scratch again. I mean, they use Rhino from scratch, Rhino and AutoCAD, and then they move into Revit at a later stage. But I haven't used Rhino for like 10 years. I loved Rhino. It was brilliant. But the speed at which they use it, I'm like, oh, God, they're really good. And all the plugins and the animations, I'm like...
You're just out of touch.
Yeah.
It's just out of touch.
Is that, I'll be all right, yeah?
Yeah, sure.
Guys, if you're listening, please support me. Please help.
I think this was episode 14.
Yeah.
This was episode 14.
Yeah.
Welcome back, guys. This is going to be a Wednesday night adventure, and they're going to come thick and fast. So please send that. We've had loads of emails complaining and being positive and asking questions, and we'll start getting through those. But it's good to be back.
Wednesdays are back, guys. Wednesdays are back. Thank you. Bye.